Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Um, Welcome to our second exhibition for this year. I'd just like to start by acknowledging that we are on the unceded lands of the Ngunnawal and the Ngambri and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And also welcome any First Nations people who are joining us here this evening at Photo Access. For those of you whose first time it is here, my name is Alex Robinson. I'm the director, and for everyone else, welcome back. This evening's a very special exhibition opening for us because it's probably the last exhibition opening in warm weather that we have for a while. So make the most of it. The fire pits will be here next time. So what we do here at Photo Access would not be possible without the kind of ongoing organisational core funding that we receive from Arts ACT as Arts Centre Investment Funding. And we are also the recipient of multi-year organisational funding from Creative Australia, which is federal government arts funding body. So thank you to those two government agencies. And we also have some very fabulous sponsors. So one of them is Ilford Photography, Ilford Photo, and we have Lerida Wine, who provide all the wines tonight. So we actually have a Prosecco, a Shiraz, a Riesling, and we have a Rosé tonight. And unfortunately, Greg's not here tonight with us, but he would have liked that. And we also have a beer sponsor that is Hawke's Brewery that are based in Marrickville. So thank you to them for the support. All the drinks are free, but if you feel inclined, please make a donation because all the proceeds go back into the program and the facilities that we have here for the community. So tonight we are opening 3 separate exhibitions by 3 different artists who all use photography, light and the materiality of the surface in very different ways. In the front gallery we have Lisa Stonham's Inside the Empty Interval, and Lisa has just finished her MFA at NAS last year, where she was awarded the Standish & Co Scholarship, which also supported the production of this work. So thanks to them. Her work investigates how photography might suspend, fracture, or reconfigure temporal experience by reinterpreting the photograph as a sculptural image object that traverses ideas of permanence and instability. And this is actually the 3rd time we've shown Lisa's work here, because I think the 3rd or maybe the 4th, because she has been a finalist in the prize the last 3rd, is it? 4th. 3rd. Okay, 3rd. So it's great to see her take over one of the spaces in the front gallery. Gallery 2 is also Gadigal-based Sydney artist Corey Black's Narcotics, Preservatives, Skeptics, which sounds like a commentary of Canberra, which is an exhibition of new works that utilise containment, transparency and opacity to flirt with and disrupt the membranes of surface, image and materiality by probing the threshold between image, substrate and the viewer. And Corey is also a NAS graduate and with an MFA and was previously co-director of Schmick Contemporary, which was founded by Carolyn Craig and Damien Dillon, who exhibited with us here last year. So there is this kind of nice relationship between NAS and Photo Access, which is kind of growing every year. So it's nice to see. And in gallery, we have in gallery 3, at the back, we have Naarm-based photomedia artist Sonia Mangiapane's exhibition entitled Ambient, Aberrant, Homecoming Edition. So Sonia recently returned from the Netherlands, where she lived for a bit over a decade or so, yep. And so all of the work in the show was, I think, made over there in her colour darkroom, or most of it. And the work itself is from an ongoing body of work that explores the ways we mediate our experience of the natural world, particularly through the lens of leisure tourism. The work seeks to raise questions around the artifice of sightseeing, chasing the sublime, our relationship to nature, or what we think it is. And it sets out from the premise that the photographic gaze and the tourist gaze emerged around the same time, around the 1840s, and have been inextricably linked ever since. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kate Warren, Senior Lecturer in Art History and Curatorship at the ANU, who will say a few words about each of the exhibitions and formally open the show. So please welcome Kate. Woo.
Thanks, Alex. And thank you to Photo Access for asking me to open these exhibitions by artists whose work I was not hugely familiar with beforehand, but have really enjoyed getting to know. I'd also like to acknowledge the lands of the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people that we're on and pay respects to elders past and present, as well as First Nations people who might be joining us today. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to a really great talk at the National Gallery down the road, which was connected to their recently closed Women Photographers exhibition, which some of you may have seen. The talk was a conversation between esteemed photo printer Sandy Barnard, along with NGA conservator Fiona Kemp and curator Annie O'Hare. Sandy is one of the most sort of celebrated and respected printers working today. She's worked with just about every photo media artist in Australia that you can think of. And it was a really fascinating discussion about the importance of thinking of photographs as material objects. From their production in the darkroom with Sandy, from their production in the darkroom at the start of their life, to their conservation and preservation as physical objects towards the end of that spectrum. So for me, it seems very timely to be opening these exhibitions today, which in their own ways are also about those material qualities and possibilities of photographs. As Helen Ennis has written on this topic, thinking about photographs as both two-dimensional and three-dimensional objects requires taking into account photography's materiality, its scale, medium, surface, and mode of presentation, as well as the viewer's position in response to it. And as someone who works in an art school, I also know that there's a very real interest for many of our students going back to physical and analogue forms. And I guess in part that's a response to the sort of digital image culture that we see. But I don't think it's necessarily or even mainly a nostalgic impulse. I think the most interesting examples of this return to analogue and materiality are actually examples that are looking to experiment and push the boundaries of what photography can do. And they're returning to and reanimating these histories of experimentation that have shaped the development of photography profoundly over centuries. And I think all three artists and the three exhibitions that we have here at Photo Access are all doing that in similar but distinct ways. And what's lovely about seeing these exhibitions, I think, is the very compelling connections and synergies that you can see across them, even though visually they all look very different. But for me, that reveals the beautiful and exciting nature of photography as a medium that was developed through curiosity and experimentation. I think this idea of photography as a material object is something that animates all three exhibitions, and in particular, the idea of surfaces, both photographic and non-photographic, and how those surfaces can hold images, memories, textures, and politics. And one of the things that sort of struck me as I walked through those shows was how these artists and exhibitions evoke also ideas of the personal, the domestic, and the intimate through their use of materiality and surfaces. So in Lisa Stonham's work, we see familiar architecture and domestic spaces that have been transformed, folded in on themselves in pillar-like acrylic supports. And I just think there's something incredibly satisfying about, encountering these spaces as they've been reconfigured by Stonham, transporting hard surfaces into transparent, luminous, and newly inviting objects. Corey Black also uses transparencies and physical supports, but on a more intimate scale. Looking at Black's assemblages of prints, transparencies, perspex, and plywood, they reminded me of the drawers or the boxes, or the spaces in our homes, that contain those objects of memories, the curling of the transparencies, the inclusion of staples in the installations, reminding me of those ways that photos and ephemera accumulate physically in our personal archives. And Sonia Mangiapane's work brings us back to the physicality of the darkroom and photographic creation. She uses techniques like double exposures, contact printing, darkroom interventions that have been fundamental techniques in photographic production and experimentation from the earliest days of photography. but her images also capture our contemporary visual culture by reflecting and, in a way, perhaps rematerializing those sense of filters, washes, and manipulations that platforms like Instagram have sort of popularized, but still can't truly reproduce in the way that a physical print can. So just to close, when I was reading about these artists' work, and then even more so after seeing their exhibitions, I was reminded very strongly of the work of an Italian scholar called Giuliana Bruno.
I was thinking of that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Phew. She writes really intelligently and evocatively about art, film, architecture, and visual culture, and especially their intersections. In her 2014 book titled Surface, Matters of Aesthetics, Materiality and Media, Bruno presents a multi-layered, multidisciplinary approach to understanding the surface as a philosophical, aesthetic, political and ethical idea. Surfaces are anything but superficial. Instead, they actively mediate the connections and the relationships between artworks, bodies, viewers, architecture and media. So I'll just end by just briefly quoting from her. One can say that a visual text can even wear its own history, inscribed as an imprint on its textual surface. It can also show affects in this way. An affect is actually worn on the surface as it is threaded through time in the form of residual stains, traces, and textures. In visual culture, surface matters, and it has depth. So my congratulations to all three artists, Lisa, Corey, and Sonia. Thank you for sharing your work with us, and I hope you all enjoy the exhibitions as much as I did. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kate. So that's kind of it from us here. Just a few other things. Yeah, so this Saturday, 6th of March, we have 2 artist talks here happening in the gallery. So at 11 a.m, Corey will be giving a artist talk in the gallery and talking about his work and process. And then at midday, Lisa will be doing the same. So please come back for those 2 events here this coming Saturday. And on the final day of the exhibition, which is Saturday, 11th of April at 1 p.m, Sonia will be back here and talking about her process in the darkroom and how some of the colours which kind of exist in photochemical papers which don't exist in the digital world. Yeah, woo, yeah, film. So that'll be very interesting. So please come back for that Saturday, 11th of April. Our next exhibition opening is Thursday, the 16th of April, which is Lulu Zhu, Chanel Nguyen, and Natalie Luz, plus Carlina Mitchell in the front gallery. So that's kind of it from us. So thank you to everyone coming tonight, and stay safe, and we'll see you all Saturday. Okay, bye.